Hello, good morning. My name is Victoria, and today I will talk about the behaviorist perspective. One of the first scientific explanation of language acquisition was proposed by Skinner in 1957. Skinner was one of the pioneers of behaviorism. His theory says that infants learn oral language from other human role models through a process involving imitation, rewards, and practice. This model in the infant environment provides both stimuli and rewards. When a child tries to speak or imitate sounds or speech patterns, they usually receive praise and affection. These rewards, for example, when child says mama for the first time, the parents clap and smile and say good job. The child feels happy and it's more likely to repeat the word. Principles of behaviorism. The first one, learning through human models. The infants learn language by imitating adults for other people around them. This process includes imitation, practice, and positive reinforcement. For example, when an infant hears the mother say bye bye, the baby tries to imitate the sounds and the gestures. When the parents smile and wave back, the baby repeats the action, gradually learning the word. 2. When a child tries to speak or imitate sounds, they often receive praise, smiles, or affection. This reward reinforces learning. For example, if a child says milk and the mother smiles and gives milk, the child finds the rewarding and repeat it. 3. The importance of the environment. The quality and quantity of language that a child hears, along with the consistency of reinforcement, really influence how well they learn. 3. The importance of environment. The quality and quantity of language that a child hears, along with the consistency of reinforcement, really influence how well they learn. For example, if a child often hears their parents talking and the parents encourage them when they try to speak, the child learns to talk faster. 4. The behaviorism as a psychology theory. This approach emerged in the United States in the 1950s as a new psychology perspective. It was first applied to the first language learning and later the second language learning. And finally, the theoretical basis. Behaviorism explains learning as a process of stimulus, response, and reinforcement. In other words, all learning is seen as a forming habits through repetition and rewards. For example, when a child says dog after seeing one, the parents smile and say, yes, that's a dog. The child feels rewarded and repeats the word, turning into an habit. Criticisms of behaviorism. However, behaviorism has several criticisms. First, it does not explain all aspects of language learning because it ignores mental process and focuses only on observable behavior. Second, the children often produce language that they have never heard before. For example, a child says, I go to the park. It's not a simple imitating, but applying grammatical rules. Third, what happens if there are no rewards? If parents do not reinforce the child, will the child stop speaking? Behavior doesn't answer these questions. The impact of second language learning. Behavioring explains some aspect of language learning, especially routine and basic elements. For example, greeting or common phrases can be learned through imitation and repetition. Behaviorists have a strong impact of language teaching. Many methods were inspired by including behaviorists had a strong impact of language teaching. Many methods were inspired by it, including the audiolingual method, which focuses on repetition and drills. One example of this one example of this is when the student repeat, "This is a pen, this is a book," the teacher correct the mistakes. The second point is total physical response, where language is linked to physical actions. One example of this is the teacher says, "Stand up, sit down, close the door, open the door, be in silence, put attention," and the students follow the commands. The other point is the silent way, which use guided discovery and minimal teacher's talk. One example of this is the teacher points to a color on a chart and the students say the word. The teacher stays silent and only to guide them. The other point is the situational language teaching. In class, the other point is the situational language teaching, which use real-life situation for learning. For example, in class, when the students practice ordering food in a restaurant role play, they repeat real-life phrases like, "Can I have a sandwich, please?" In conclusion, in summary, the behaviorist perspective sees language learning as an habit formed through imitation and reinforcement. It explains some simple aspects of learning, but not the more complex ones. Thank you.